I was contacted by Aventon in late August about potentially reviewing an adventure bike of theirs, and after looking at the bike on their website, I thought they may have contacted the wrong person by accident. Because as you know, and as I told them, I don't like drop bars, so to ask me to review that, well, that's some hefty confidence in your product. So since early September, I've been in possession of the Aventon Kijote, an adventure bike. Even though I'm always happy to review a new bike, the only thing I was really looking forward to with the Kijote was the color. That's because one of the two colors it comes in is a KevCentral-ish orange, but they call it sunset yellow. According to their site, on the Kijote I can take the path less ridden, or I can go fast on smooth roads. I get to decide which. That sounds pretty appealing, and by the looks of this guy, he's doing wheelies on the thing, and in another picture he's riding it in some sort of rocky canyon. Well, all that does look impressive, so clearly they've got the marketing down, but how's the bike itself? My first thought after unboxing the Kijote is wow, because looks-wise they definitely have me. I really like the finish, and the branding kinda has a canyon vibe going on. Specs-wise, look, I'm not a road bike or a gravel bike or adventure bike expert, but it looks to me like you do get a fair complement of components for the $599 asking price. What I see a lot with direct-to-consumer brands are typically that they have a lot of flashy pictures, but they're often lacking in details on exactly what you get. Pleasantly, Aventon gives you a full rundown, so let's take a look at the specs and see how this bike stacks up for the dollar. First on the list is the frame. This is a 4130 double-butted chromoly steel frame. I always hear the road bike guys talking about their steel frames. Steel this and steel that. So this will be a good test for me to see exactly what they're talking about. For the bottom bracket, this lists an outboard bearing Holotech 2 style bottom bracket, which really means this is an external ball bearing Shimano Holotech clone. That's my preferred bottom bracket type. The cassette is listed as a Shimano branded 8-speed with a gear range of 11 to 32 tooth. The tires are small knobbies made by Kenda. They're Small Block 8s, I love that name, and the size is 700 by 35C. The headset's threadless, 1 1/8 inch, so that opens up a lot of stem possibilities, and the cartridge bearing is stainless steel. Next on the list is the seat post. This is listed as a 3D forged alloy post with a 27.2mm diameter. It has incremental markings and Aventon branding on the back. Now the fork, like the frame, is 4130 chromoly steel, and I assume you'll be needing that steel strength for all the adventuring you're going to be doing. This fork also has a couple of mount points on it for those that like to rack up for those long journeys. The chain is a KMC Z series like you see on just about everything these days. Shifters are Shimano Claris with hidden cables. Let's see, Claris check. Hidden cables. Did I read that correctly? Yes, hidden cables. Okay, well maybe they're hidden while you're sitting on the bike. Tubes, I'm shocked they even listed these. They're Kenda branded with Presta valves. Handlebars, here we go. Yep, drop bars. 3D forged alloy, I guess. Good thing they're not 2D. 31.8mm, and these look and feel, I guess, to be well made. They have all that drop bariness that you should be looking for, hoods and drops and stuff, so here's to hope. Saddle. This is a high point and a spoiler warning. I really like this Aventon Performance saddle. It not only looks good, but it stays comfortable on long rides. The pedals, these are a curious choice, and they're listed as alloy loose ball with reflectors, and I say curious choice not because there's anything wrong with them, because they appear to be well made, but they're heavy. They weigh in at almost a pound. I'm going to combine the front and the rear derailleurs because they're both Shimano Claris, and out of the box, both shifted through the gears fine and have continued to do so. Now I did ask the bike shop where the Claris sat in the road bike lineup, and they said they were decent derailleurs, but they were on the low end of the spectrum. Wheels and spokes. The wheels are alloy double wall 32 hole, and the spokes are black stainless steel. Now I did have to have the rear wheel trued out of the box. Handlebar tape. EVA foam padded grips. The foam's comfortable. Even on long rides it stays comfortable, and I don't know if at the local bike shop they were nitpicking on this particular thing because it was a direct to consumer product, but they said there's an excessive amount of black tape on these foam grips. I don't know if that's really true, and I haven't had anyone else mention it, but looks okay to me. Now remember those pedals, they weighed almost a pound, and they list the Kijote at 28 pounds, and I'm accustomed to bike companies rounding down, often by quite a bit, so I was a little shocked when the Kijote weighed in at 27.2. The crankset is listed as a Pro Wheel forged hollow spindle with 34 and 52 chain rings, and on the bike it's branded ounce, no doubt to make up for those heavy pedals. Now, I had to look this up, an ounce is in fact a Pro Wheel product, and the chain rings are 34 and 52. On those crank arms, I saw a symbol that looked familiar, and that was because I had seen it previously when I unpacked the accessory pack, and there was a tool inside. And this matched the pattern, and here's why. The hubs are listed as Novatec sealed bearing hubs, yet the hubs on the bike are branded as Joytech. Now, in my 30 seconds of internet research, I couldn't find anything that linked the two brands, but I don't know if one is better than the other. Maybe somebody can comment below with some insight on which hub is better. The brakes are Tektro mechanical disc brakes with 160mm rotors. Now, I've had plenty of bikes with Tektro brakes, but these are my first Mira series. They work well, though I do have to note that the rear brake occasionally gets a little noisy. I've had the bike shop look at it, but so far the noise persists. Want to be fair and transparent, and that's why I mention it. And finally, there's this stem. 3D forged alloy, 28.6mm deep with a 7-degree rise, and it also has Aventon branding. So that's the goods, all the components that make up the Aventon Kijote. And aside from the questionably hidden cables and the different branding on the hubs, it's all there, in a slightly lighter way. The Kijote's definitely a looker from my perspective, and I think the local hipsters agree because they've interrupted me multiple times mid-conversation just to give me compliments on the bike. Looks aside, the real test is going to be how the ride shapes up, because drop bars. I spent the usual time commuting and riding around town, and the Kijote did as expected, though for commuting it still hasn't sold me on drop bars. But this is an adventure bike, so I decided I would go looking for an adventure. I pedaled until I reached rural Alabama County roads, and then I kept riding. I don't venture out this way on any of my commuter bikes, and though I'm not sold yet, I will say that on long open roads, this is where drop bars may have their place. That's because there are a plethora of grip positions that make it easy to pound out some long rides without getting the stiff shoulders or arms that you get on a fixed position with regular bars. And I do like that because I went all Forrest Gump on the Kijote. Remember how he started running and just kept running? Well, I've done that day after day with this bike. I just kept riding. Okay, that's a really bad Forrest Gump, but you get the point. I've easily logged more miles in a single day on the Kijote than I have any other bike ever, and I'm regretting not installing a bike computer early on, but I felt that would take away from the whole spirit of adventure. On smooth roads, Aventon says you can pick up speed. Now, I don't keep up with that sort of thing, but I did use my phone and I was able to clock a respectable, at least for me, 34 mph top speed. That's on the road. Adventure awaits in other areas, and that's where either the DNA of the bike or my willingness to buy into the marketing takes over. They said the path less ridden, and that's what I searched out, making a transition from smooth roads onto these less ridden or less kept roads like dirt roads. That's a breeze. I found dirt roads to be perfect for these Kenda Small Block 8 tires. They do their job and haven't ever wavered. Though I would like it if they were puncture resistant, because the road you're seeing here is through an old cornfield, so there are old stubs of stalks poking up, and I did start to worry, though I never did get a flat. Well, that's on dirt, but what about gravel? Because technically the Kijote is a gravel bike. For it, they're just another road, albeit a little less smooth. At this point, I would have loved to have plugged in some great revelation that I had about the steel frame and how it really smoothed things out. And I suspect that it did help some, but honestly, I'd have to ride the same setup on an aluminum frame bike to be able to tell the difference because nothing really jumps out at me. No compelling argument for one over the other. What I did notice is the bike's responsiveness varying a bit on gravel roads, meaning it handles them well within reason. And I'll freely admit that I always tense up a bit on gravel, even if I'm on a mountain bike. And in my mind, I'm constantly thinking about those tiny 35C tires, even when they're doing well, and they do well for most gravel. Where I hit a wall with them is on gravel roads with large rocks or also very loose gravel. I suspect that's why Aventon mentioned to me and also states on their website that this bike has been tested to work with 650B wheels and 47mm tires. My contact at Aventon even sent me a pic of his Kijote fitted with carbon 650B wheels and WTB 47mm tires. Based on my pleasant experience with the stock Kijote, I can only imagine how super it would be with this setup. Another wall I hit was on mountain bike trails, and I know this is outside of the scope of the bike, but I always hear tales of those people that ride drop bar gravel bikes on mountain bike trails, so I had to give it a go. This is where me and drop bars definitely do not work out, and also where I question the sanity of anyone that thinks that they do. I lasted less than 200 yards on the mountain bike trail. I couldn't find a good grip position that also let me shift and brake as needed, and I also had a couple of pedal strikes. And riding in the drop position, you can forget about that. For me, that's a definite no-go, but bars aside, the bike itself didn't really complain. And while I'm harping about drop bars, let me say that even on the road, I still don't get the whole having to reach to brake or shift, even though I do now understand the multi-positions of comfort afforded by these gravel or road bike style setups. All that said, with a complimentary bike shop bike fit and the right size bike frame, using that for long rides, I can start to respect this setup, even if I'm still not 100% a drop bar guy. I've never been a long adventure rider type guy, but that's changed now, all thanks to the Aventon Kijote. And as I've already said, there are lots of miles with me on this bike. Comfortable miles, no spandex required. And more importantly, I'm a new adventure rider, and that's helped me unknowingly rediscover some of the wonders of my surrounding area. Alabama's a cotton state, it always has been. Odds are, some of the cotton you may be wearing at this moment may have originated from my area. And that adventure has led me to the joy of hand-picking cotton from fields that I discovered thanks to a long ride on the Kijote. To me, this is a bike that not only looks good, but it rides even better, and it has the flexibility to potentially do even more with a simple wheel swap, which I'll gladly do if any company wants to send me a 650B wheel set to review. And at $5.99, I think it's priced about right. You've seen some of the components and some of the fun, so let me know, what do you think about the Aventon Kijote? Comment below. Also, be sure you're subscribed and that you have that bell notification icon active, because you'll want to receive notifications, like this soon-to-come notification about a bike giveaway, where you can have a chance at winning your own Aventon Kijote. Thanks for watching KevCentral, and have a great day.